Okay. Hello, everybody. It's Rachel, and Rachel Leba is here in Fort Worth again. It's Wednesday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here today. I don't know what to say. I'm really excited about the show today. And let me share this real quick before I go into start all that. So, I didn't say last week, and let me tell you how things work, because the person that was supposed to come on this week, everything works out the way it's supposed to work out, right? I didn't mention the person, so someone else came on, creeped in. I had one of my business associates, she mentioned this beautiful soul, and we were both so excited, but we didn't really know where it was going to head. That's when it's like bigger than you, right? So, but first of all, before I jump into what we're going to talk about, because I know you're curious and you really want to know, I just want to thank everybody for being here. I am a business owner. I have a nonprofit, and I work with women, and I also have a natural health business. And I speak about this every week, just about. I am a fan until eons from now, right, for hydrogen water. So we're not going to really talk about that today, but I just want to throw that out there. So if you're curious, even from past weeks where we brought it up and you want to know more about how it helps our overall health, and Liz even has a testimony regarding that as well. Maybe she'll give us a little bit of that at the end. But just reach out to me. So what I want to start off with is this young lady. Her name, she's my sister now. Her name is Liz Elia, and she's coming all the way from Boston. I don't know, I didn't say that right. But we had a wonderful conversation about overall health, the well-being of all the elements of everything that makes up us as human beings. And then she offered for me to work with her to give me a little bit of insight into what she does. Now, this can be kind of esoterical for some of you. Some of you may not grasp fully. So the way I'm going to explain, because I want to give a little bit about my experience with Liz. And then she's going to explain from her own words what she does. So we got together and we talked, and basically, to sum it up, is she gave me the tools and the insight to free myself from trauma. Okay, or to free, when I say trauma, I don't, we think of catastrophic. It doesn't even have to be catastrophic. The things that I have, past experiences that I've subconsciously held on to in my spirit, in my mind, my emotions, and just in my overall, even in my physical body, that have held me back from moving forward so that I can take care of myself better. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Now, before I go more into what I experienced personally, I would love to introduce Liz Elia. She's from Whole Minded Health, and she's going to give some information about herself and what she does. And welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks so much, Rachel. I'm so happy that we met, and it's just a wonderful crossing of paths. So thank you, Leah, for introducing us.
Yes, thank you, Leah.
So I am an energy work practitioner, and what I do is look at the patterns that people are holding in their brains or in their bodies or in their minds or belief systems that manifest in different ways. Maybe it manifests as limitations in functioning, like difficulty with studies at school, or anxiety patterns, or whoever comes to me, I'll find what's going on and keeping them out of their alignment with their true self and purpose, and I'll bring them a little closer to it. And basically what I do is I'm an investigator, and I use this thing called a specialized kinesiology, which is a form of muscle response testing to figure out what the person's system needs in that moment in time. And so, yeah, it's whoever comes to me, I just use kind of the ability to ask the body what it needs to help clear out stress. What's the thing that's holding it back from doing what it has the potential to do? So that's kind of a generalized description.
That's very generalized. The first thing we talked about was we can't separate. I mean, it's, you know, I can't just say, oh, you work with the brain, because everything is connected. You emphasize that several times, that you can't really, I mean, we can kind of compartmentalize a little bit or simplify, but we really can't separate because they all work together. So explain a little bit about that, how they all interconnect.
Well, the energy that I work with is the meridian energy of the body. So there are these channels of energy that go through the body, like lines, or like railroad tracks that go through the body. And you can't see them, you can't measure them, but they're there. It's what acupuncturists use. They use little needles to break up stuck energy in these lines of the body. And what I do is a light touch. I just lightly touch the points on the body, and in combination with the muscle test, it tells me what's going on in the brain. So I know the brain's energy is located throughout the body. We are one whole system, and I'm just trying to hone in on where the stress is located. So someone came to me with back pain the other day, and pulling out all the things that I could pull out through her muscle response, we really honed in on the aspect of her trying to hide herself and block herself from the world. And so it was this kind of slouching pattern that she held in her body, but was rooted in a lot of childhood trauma and rooted in a lot of attitudes about herself. So just these beliefs and emotions really do manifest in the physical body. And our cells, they're all like miniature, you know, systems of us. Each one of our trillions of cells is receiving messages from our mind, body, electricity every moment of every day. So if we're telling these cells the message that, you know, we're in a dangerous situation, the cells are going to freeze up, and they're not going to send the message to the other cells that it's okay to function normally. They're going to go into a kind of a survival mode, and that's going to block the energy from flowing into the organs, through the tissues, and just kind of manifest in negative ways in the body. So I really work on the emotional connection to the body, and the patterns in the mind that affect the physical body.
So when you talk about the meridians, I think I mentioned this to you when we first started talking about it. The picture I got was little highways, like energy highways that go through the body. I mean, we've talked about connective tissue, we've talked about organs, we've talked about all the things that we can see on the show, you know, and that's what we normally talk about. But that energy, the way that energy runs through the body is equally important. Because things can, just like arteries, where plaque builds up and then the blood can't get flow through. It's the same thing with the energy through the body. One of my favorite movies, and I don't know if I'm like totally going off subject here, but one of my favorite movies is The Matrix. And one thing that impresses me about one thing they say is that we're like little batteries. And that's what the machines in the movie do. They use us as batteries, and that's real. Like, we're conductors, right? And so I like that visual, you know, because I think that gives our listeners a little bit more information of how that might, in someone's mind's eye, look at how it travels. So like you said, if it gets blocked, it would just be like a traffic jam, right? So
yeah, and we when the energy's blocked, it's like the energy trying to get through can't get through. And that backlog of energy can create stress on the other end of the line. So, we have to allow the flow of energy through the body. And sometimes the reason we're blocked is from a pattern we've had since we were really small children. And so, sometimes I'm digging up these things that happen to people really a lot earlier in their life, and they're saying, why is that coming up now? And I just say it's time. It's ready to be healed. It's ready to release. And people just feel like such a weight is lifted, like they can live their lives in a more whole manner, because the flow's been restored.
Yeah. Give us some examples of some childhood things that people, just some random different scenarios and how that's kind of manifested.
Yeah. Just today I was working on somebody who had to move as a small child. And it was a very big trauma to leave home. And we pinpointed that trauma through, I just was like listing emotions, and suddenly she said, oh, it was having to move and wondering, where am I going now? And am I safe?
Right.
And realizing that was blocking her from moving forward in her life in a manner that felt like she was moving from a place of power rather than a place of fear. So it was really, that's just from today. I have so many examples that it's kind of hard to reach on the spot for those, but it's like that every day. It's like, oh yeah, I see why it's really hard for me to take this next step now that I understand that a part of me is still in there that's really traumatized from moving. People don't think of moving as much of a trauma, but it's a trauma in the way that it can affect one person way more than it would affect another,
Right.
So her brothers and sisters might not have been as traumatized by it, but she held it as, something that was quite scary. So,
and it's as I stated before, I do work with women, and a lot of the women that I've seen, you kind of spoke about that, have been through some trauma, like deep traumas that, and I have a friend in particular who was traumatized between the ages of 4 and 7, and I mean bad, right? And he started getting glimpses, flashes of the trauma in his 30s. So why do you think some of those get buried and just start to appear? What can you kind of speculate on that?
Well, it's too much for the system to handle. So the brain has this subconscious survival system that basically runs the show of your conscious mind. And so when these traumas that happen are so severe that a small child just has nowhere to put it, no way to process it. It's just beyond the capacity of anybody to understand why that would happen to a child. But for the child themselves, it's just, the brain has no way to handle it. So the brain will kind of block the conscious storing of the memory. There's, the fear, the threat, the danger, the brain's memory center will just kind of shut down the connection between this memory bank and the conscious mind. And so that's the subconscious. So I tell people, when I am muscle testing you, when I'm asking where the stress is held, I am talking to your subconscious. I'm using your muscle to tell me what's happening in the brain, but I'm not asking you directly. I might say a word to you and it may dig up something for you, an association, and it might help me down the path, but I'm using the brain itself to tell me where the stress is held. And so, you know, if it is a trauma that isn't ready to be remembered consciously, it won't bring it to my attention to bring to your attention. But we sometimes do work on those things without even knowing that that's what we're working on.
Right.
So yeah, the question is back to the question, why does the brain do that? And it's protection, survival. If you had to hold on to that story and memory, you may not be able to function in the world. It may stop you, it may paralyze you from getting up in the morning as a child, and many children who do remember their traumas, it did happen that way. So the brain is constantly trying to protect you. And what we know in our conscious mind is literally a tiny fragment of what our brain actually knows about what's going on around us at all times.
Right.
I tell people your brain is what you think you know is like one book in the entire library. The Boston Public Library. This is your consciousness. Here's one book, and the rest of the library is in there. And
so what you're saying, I don't mean to interrupt, but what you're saying is that we're operating on a very small conscious level. Consciously, what we do is a very, very small part of our actual whole self, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that. I'm saying we are much more than we think we are.
Yeah.
And what we think we are really does keep us in our patterns. You know, we look for evidence to support who we think we are. So I always tell people to look for evidence to support who you want to be rather than who you think you are.
So let's talk about that, because you're nothing, you'll never amount to anything, you're stupid, you're ugly, you make me sick, you know, especially as a young child, right? That's just like you said, that carries on, and we start to behave even though we may not be that way, or we're victimized. We start, like you just said, we start to experience that as our reality and make it so.
Even without being conscious that, that's why, you know, I act this way, I treat myself this way, is because the person who was an authority, the person who was teaching you how to be as a child, taught you those things, that you are all of those, you know, terrible things, you know, that a person might call another one. But yeah, we take on those things because we think that is the truth of the world when we're that age. So our brains are forming. You're born as a blank slate, and by the time you're about 5 years old or 7 years old, you've really mapped out how you think you should survive in the world. So if you are born into a world where you're being put down like that, then your brain's going to be mapped in a way that thinks, I need to fight against that, or I need to hide myself so that people can't see that I have those qualities. So.
And back to what you just said too, that you said instead of living, what did you say? You said instead of being what you believe, you repeat that, Liz. I can't quote it. Should have wrote it down.
Okay, no. Instead of, so, you know, you look for evidence for what you believe, right? So if you believe the world is unsafe, you're going to see all of the examples of how and why the world is unsafe. You're going to watch the news every night. Number one mistake I tell people is don't watch the news every night. That's going to just completely reinforce the fear and the patterns in you that are like frozen, like, oh, I shouldn't even go outside. It's so dangerous out there. So that is kind of like, I think the news is tapped into that brain's need to find evidence to support, like, where's the bear coming from today? You know, the brain needs to know how to survive. But I want to teach you how to thrive. So I want you to decide that you want your life to be what you want it to be. And then I want you to go find an example of that. So today I had a young man who was, basically frozen in fear, college kid, and who, thinks that once he graduates, the world is going to be this big, dangerous place. So he's holding back from going to school because he doesn't want to take that next step. Because he thinks, when I leave home, the world is going to come after me. I'm not going to be able to support myself. And I said, listen, no matter what we do here, you're going to continue to look for that evidence. So your homework is to imagine your life after college in a positive way. I want you to give yourself 5 minutes a day and journal about what could go right after college, the things that you might do, and it really is, a way to train your subconscious to look for those things in your life. It's how manifestation works. I'm looking for one thing, and every time you're looking for, butterflies, you'll see them everywhere, right? You're like, butterflies mean a lot to me. They're like my little spiritual, they make my soul happy. And then all of a sudden you're seeing them everywhere you look, even in the middle of winter, there are, pictures of them everywhere. So we find what has meaning to us. And if that meaning is that we're stupid and unworthy, then we do look for those kind of things too. And that keeps us stuck. So I kind of go into the subconscious and I find out what's the most important thing we need to get rid of, or I never use the word get rid of, but what is the most important thing we need to heal? What is the most important part that needs a boost to be more integrated into your life, into the present moment?
That's good. So before Mary said she saw my butterfly on my ears and on my necklace. Before we go into my session, can you describe in a nutshell your description of who you are and what you do? You said that to me before we started. I'd love to hear that again because it was so perfect.
Which time? I never described it the same way twice.
Well, didn't you write it down?
Oh, no.
You did?
What I do is I go into the subconscious and I kind of release the fears or the stresses that are holding you back from who you're meant to be. And you know what Leah said to me? This is what she said. She wrote it for me.
Oh, that's what I was.
Yeah. All right. I dive into the murky waters, blocking you at the root level so that you can experience more peace, abundance, and happiness to be fully who you are meant to be.
Yes. Thank you,
Thanks, Leah.
That was amazing. I love that. So that's a good segue because this means so much to me. Working with Liz opened up so many things in me. So I'm gonna get personal here, whether you guys want to hear it or not. But what we did is she did her side of the test and she asked for permission to represent me, I guess you should say, so that she could feel what was being blocked or what was going on within my spirit, within my body, which is all connected. So this is the reason I described this particular forum about whole healing, because this is a big part of it, and I'll tell you why. So one of the first questions I want to ask before I go into the whole experience, but one thing she started with was the right brain and the left brain. Right brain, left brain dominance. And the way she described that, we need that balance between the two. And I think you said I was left brain dominant. I think you said left brain.
Right brain. Yeah, everything. It's all creativity.
Yeah, all creativity. So I'm like burning, burning, burning like fire, right? But anyway, so that was where we kind of started off at first. And so then she allowed me to get comfortable, and if I wanted to explore some things. And what came up in my spirit was old beliefs about myself not being good enough. Old beliefs that I had been told so for a while that I wouldn't amount to anything, that I wasn't good enough. And it's so funny because when I think of trauma, I think of trauma, because I hear trauma all the time, but I have my own personal trauma. I have my own personal tape that has been playing, that has been preventing me from not only having full health, really taking care of myself physically, because I can do a lot better, but also emotional, financial, some physical. It's all interconnected. So what she helped me do is to get to the root of that and reprogram that, so that I'm not still sitting in this belief that I'm not good enough. So I was so grateful for her. I felt the weight lift. I felt myself getting goosebumps now thinking about it. I felt the transformation and the conviction in my spirit, in my being, in my body, in my emotion, in everything. Make a commitment to myself that I am not those things that I believed I was before. And the crazy thing about it is I didn't even consciously think I felt that way until we started talking about it. So that's what Liz did for me. And she said that I helped her too. So it's an interconnection. I don't know what I did, but but she really she's a kindred spirit, and she's a healer. And when I say that in a very specific sense, is that she had my best interest at heart and made me feel comfortable and safe to be able to explore that within myself. So I know you work with lots of patients, if I can shout it from the rooftops, I felt transformation. So I bring that up because, this is a natural wellness forum, and natural wellness stems, it's limitless, right? But we were talking about whole health, and when we first started talking about, this particular subject, it was very, very hard because what she does it's bigger than just what we're saying, right? And we can talk about it all night. So what I would like for you to do is tell me, or tell everyone that's listening, how you helped me, and what that looked like from your end.
Do I have permission to share?
Absolutely.
I have permission? Okay. So what you were describing was this right brain dominance, where all of the information coming into your brain was being sent to the right hemisphere, instead of divided appropriate between left and right hemisphere. Your brain should have a balance between the two sides working together and appropriately, but the brain is saying everything needs to go to this super creative side of the brain, because that's the one that works the best and that's the one we trust. So then that's like overloading you with a lot of information and causing it hard for you to organize and stay centered and stay in your purpose and stay in your truth and and then we figured out that possibly there was some kind of like part of you in there that may not feel like it's actually safe to succeed. So what if I did succeed? Part of you is saying, yeah, I don't really want to move forward in this direction because it feels like I don't believe I can, or it's not safe to. So we kind of addressed that. And I wish I had my notes in front of me, but we honed in on kind of like the reasons why it wouldn't, oh, remember you said, if I succeed, it would be too much to handle. That was it. It's like, how would I handle it all? And I don't think I could maintain all that energy flow if it were to come through me. And then I don't normally, talk this way to first-time clients, but I got this strong message through me that said, have you asked God to be your have you asked God to be your coworker? Have you asked God to
business partner?
Yes, that's it. And so that was a big, it just came through. I was like, it's not safe, but I kind of reinforced to you that like, once you actually do step onto the path moving forward, all the support of the universe will be around you. And so you have to like, just know that that's on your side. So that just kind of came through intuitively as we were working. And we went into, some trauma stuff that had happened in your life, and why what you were doing today was actually based out of trying to prove yourself from the past instead of authentically living in the now. And then we identified that was like an intergenerational pattern from one of your parents' sides, and like an abundance block. And we went through like the DNA sequence of that, and then had you look at the characters in your life and how they kind of, caused that pain within you. And once we were done with the balance, you said, oh, I no longer feel like that sense of fear. I feel compassion and love for these people rather than a sense of I'm fighting to prove myself. So that we did like an hour and a half. So that was the whole thing in a nutshell. But it's like this beautiful sequence of like the story unravels itself. And that's just from the top of my head. There were lots of like, and was that an okay retelling of it?
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. And I'm glad you did, because for anyone who gets an opportunity to watch this and hear your words, this is what we all should go through. We all should get to the point where we can start to unravel and peel back those layers to find where it's blocking, because it's going to show our, let me put it, I'll keep it on me. My belief systems that blocks me from my purpose are going to show up somewhere. It's going to show up. And I like the description you used about the woman who was kind of withdrawn because she didn't feel safe. It's going to show up somehow. And I don't, and this is why I love doing this forum. I'm so glad we got together and decided to do this, because we're getting so many different aspects of natural wellness. And so this is something we don't hear a lot about this. This is the part where the inner work gets done. I mean, I can jog 3 times a week, I can work out, I can do my yoga, I can eat right, I can drink my water, I can do all these things, but that inside is where the true joy and the alignment of purpose meets, right? So, I mean, it's just an amazing experience. And anybody out there who would love to have a session with my sister Liz, how would they get in touch with you, Liz?
So I put my website on the bottom of the page. It's wholemindedhealth.com. And it is a really old website, but it pretty much sums up what I do. And you can email me from that website. You can find my number there and give me a call. So the work you and I did, Rachel, was on the phone or on Zoom. So you're in Texas, I'm in Boston. And so I do, a lot of my work over the phone and Zoom. And for the people who are in the Boston area or New England area, I'm here located in Cambridge and Braintree. I have a couple of different offices I work out of. So Yeah, please do reach out.
You called it remote sessions. She can do remote sessions. Now, Leah asked, what strategies can people do at home on their own?
So good question, Leah. So on their own, in order to maintain sanity of mind and body, my favorite recommendation to all my clients is meditation. And it's not, a practice you have to study Buddhism to get. It's sitting down quietly and breathing and just allowing the space to listen to the silence, to listen to the greater energy around you. It's like quieting the mind, quieting the body, and just tuning in. So I always tell people start with 5 minutes a day and just commit those 5 minutes a day, and it'll change your life. And I promise you that the 5 minutes is going to add up to, you'll be sitting there having a good time, and eventually you'll be sitting for 10 or 15 minutes. But meditation is one of the greatest tools and technologies out there to help, survive this crazy world. Hydration is the first thing I check on people when they come into the office. So that's why Izumio is so important to me. It's, this hydrogen water that helps hydrate you even more than water can hydrate you. It's more available. The hydrogen atoms get into the body in such a way that it's remarkable. I used it for myself when I had a concussion recently, which it brought up a lot of anxiety. Just a little bit of brain stress triggered a whole bunch of anxiety. Every time I had my Izumio, it would calm down.
I call it hydration at the cellular level.
Exactly. And your brain is made of cells, and those cells, in order to process what's happening around you, need physical cellular support. So I love my hydrogen water.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah. And there's sleep, getting a really good night's sleep and a consistent sleep. I could give you more tools. Leah, do you want more tools?
She loves the Calm app, 10 minutes a day in the morning. I do the same thing, Leah. It's so funny. I've been in and out of meditation for decades, but about 3 years ago, I committed. So every single day. And I've come to believe that the 15, 20 minutes of meditation for me a day makes up for the rest of my day. Like it's the fuel for the rest of my day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just want to, anybody else have any questions? Go ahead and post. Can honestly say I have not had such a transformative encounter with an individual than I did with you in our session. Ever. Like, I mean, as long as I can think, I mean, so many things just lined up perfectly. It was an apex for me that I saw all the actions that were happening before lead up to this, and then that release. So what Liz and I both agree 100%, this whole minded health encompasses everything like we spoke. And it's so imperative people do not forget that all of that buried stuff could have blockage to you taking care of yourself in ways that eating healthy, exercising, it could lead to that, that I may not be doing the right things for me because I don't love myself for whatever reasons, you know what I mean? So I want to just thank you again, because it was just an amazing, it's a different look, it was just a different look than anything else that we've done so far. So I want you to close with some words of wisdom and something that people can take with them, that may save their lives down the road.
I just want to say that I want everyone to know that they are loved, that no matter what, there's someone who loves them deeply and dearly, and never forget that. And the second thing is, this is my motto since I have been a young child. Life is like a Ferris wheel, and you'll go up and you'll come down, but it always comes up again and it always comes down again. So when I'm in that mud at the bottom, I know that there's an engine in there that is always going to bring me back up again. And that's what gets me through those times that are really difficult. So just knowing, keep spinning.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you everybody who came and supported us today. Please share, please like, and be back next Wednesday, and reach out to Liz. She is a fountain full of knowledge and wisdom. She helps transform lives, and that's what we're here to do, is to help people to take responsibility for their whole health, right? Their whole health. So thank you again, Liz.
Thank you, Rachel.
It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.